Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Nevets, and today we have something a little bit different. I have officially entered myself into the Shepsky Dad Discord draft, aka the SDDD. Most of you are probably asking, and rightfully so, Nevets, what the heck is Shepsky Dad Discord draft? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is a Pokemon draft league run by the Discord server of the Pokemon YouTuber Shepsky Dad. I'll leave the link to his channel in the description. Essentially, it's like fantasy sports, but with Pokemon. Every team gets to draft 9 to 11 Pokemon to be on their team. Then each week, we pick a team of 6 Pokemon to battle against our opponent for that week. Each Pokemon is assigned a point value based on how powerful it is in battle, and we all have a limit of 110 total points to spend. Got it? Good. If you're still confused on some things, don't comment yet because I might get to it later. For the SDDD, we played a snake-style draft, which essentially means that the person who picks first in round 1 picks last in round 2, then first in round 3, and so on and so on. Well, my team, the Bouffalant Bills, got the first overall pick. Great! I get whatever Pokemon I want. Only problem is, this is my first time ever doing a draft league, and I'm a little lost on what's good and what's not. The good thing is, I know versatility is king. So, with my first pick, I chose Iron Valiant, a Paradox Pokemon from Pokemon Violet. Iron Valiant is really good as a first pick because of its strong fairy fighting typing, but also because of its versatility with a high base stat in both physical and special attack, as well as a high speed to be able to move before my opponents. Again, I'm a little lost in what's good and not good here, and I had to wait for every other team to pick before I got to pick again. I had my eyes on one Pokemon, Galarian Slowking, due to its great bulk and really solid offensive coverage with Psychic and Poison moves. Unfortunately, Galarian Slowking got picked with the pick right before me in the second round, and so I was forced to pivot my strategy. With my second pick, I decided to take the pseudo-legendary Dragon Flying type from my favorite generation, Gen 3, Salamence. Salamence also has pretty good versatility, but in a different way to Iron Valiant. Rather than being versatile in physical or special attacks, Salamence just has so many coverage options. Earthquake, Stone Edge, Iron Head, Aqua Tail, Temper Flare, and several more great options for type coverage. Any given week, I can run different moves on Salamence to hit my opponent's team with a type that they are weak to, while also keeping them guessing on what moves I'm running. Now, since I had the first pick, I got back-to-back picks to end round 2 and start round 3. So, with my third pick, right after taking Salamence, I picked my first Terra Captain. Before I reveal the pick, let me explain what a Terra Captain is. We are playing in the format Generation 9 National Dex, which means that we have access to Terastallization, the generational gimmick of Gen 9 that lets you change the type of your Pokemon for the duration of a battle. In draft, this can be a little overpowered, since any Pokemon being able to Terastallize is just so unpredictable. So, we draft Terra Captains, which are the only Pokemon on our team that it will be allowed to Terastallize. Each week, our opponent will know the Terra type of our Terra Captains, but we'll still get to choose whether or not we want to Terastallize them. Make sense? Good. That being said, my third pick and my first Terra Captain is the Crocodile Pokemon, Crocodile. Crocodile is a fantastic offensive threat that in most cases can just click Earthquake and be happy. Having Crocodile as a Terra Captain, though, means that I can terrestrialize into a type that covers the weaknesses of the rest of my team and click the move Terra Blast, which changes type depending on your Pokemon's Terra type when terrestrialized. Crocodile also provides some good support with the great entry hazard move, Stealth Rock. Stealth Rock sets up invisible rocks on my opponent's side of the field that deal damage whenever a Pokemon switches in. After waiting through the entire third and fourth rounds, it was my turn to pick again. And at this point, I had an idea of the roles that I wanted to pick up here. My Pokemon thus far had been mid to high tier speed, but I wanted something that could help boost that through the move Tailwind. Well, it just so happened that the best Tailwind user in the game, Whimsicott, was available here. Whimsicott has the ability Prankster, which makes it so that all status moves used by it go first. The thing I forgot about, though, is that Prankster Tailwind is really good in doubles, but we're playing singles, where the speed of when you use Tailwind doesn't really matter that much. We'll get back to that later. I also wanted a physically bulky Pokemon to add to the team, so I picked another iconic Pokemon from the Generation 3 games because it's a team member of the champion Steven Stone. Skarmory. Skarmory has incredible physical bulk with a base defense stat of 140. Skarmory will most likely be the primary hazard setter and hazard counter for the Bouffalant Bills, thanks to the moves Stealth Rock, Spikes, and Defog. A status move that lowers the evasiveness of the opponent's Pokemon, but more importantly, clears all entry hazards from both sides of the field. So far, other than Skarmory, my team had leaned pretty heavily on the offensive side. So with my next pick, I decided I wanted a little more bulk to pair with Skarmory. And at this point, I started looking at the lower tiers. And I found one of the best bulky Pokemon available for only 6 points. Porygon 2. Porygon 2 has pretty decent bulk in its stats alone, with 85 HP, 90 defense, and 95 special defense. But what really makes it shine is the item that it will inevitably be holding for every battle that I bring it to. Eviolite. For those who don't know, the Eviolite is a held item in Pokemon that is designed to give a huge buff to Pokemon that are not fully evolved. And since Porygon Z exists, Porygon 2 is able to take advantage of it. When holding an Eviolite, Porygon 2 will have a 1.5 times multiplier to both its physical and special defense. Combine that with its pretty solid 105 base special attack stat, and you have a strong special attacker that doesn't die easily. With my second pick in this round of back-to-backs, though, I went back to the offense with the water duck Pokemon, Quaquaval. To be honest, at this stage in the draft, I was working more to get good Pokemon that I know I can use without stacking too many weaknesses on top of each other. Quaquaval's water fighting type is a fantastic offensive typing, hitting 7 types for super effective damage while having no types that resist both water and fighting. In addition, its signature move, Aqua Step, is a strong water type move that is guaranteed to raise Quaquaval's speed, making sure that I am able to attack before my opponent, even if I'm at low HP. This next set of back-to-back picks, I realized I needed 2 things still on my team. I needed a second Terra Captain to pair with Crocodile, and I needed a Mega Evolution. And my points at this stage were limited. First, I decided to pick my second Terra Captain for 9 points, the flower Pokemon Florges. At this point, I have my physical wall in Skarmory, and I have my overall tank in Porygon 2. But I didn't have a strong special wall. Florges, with a respectable 78 base HP and a whopping 154 base special defense, fills this void. I can switch Florges in on basically any of my opponent's Pokemon that want to hit me with a special attack. Plus, I can Terra out of the Fairy type to throw off their momentum if they want to hit me with a super effective move. Or I can Terra into the Fairy type and hit with a double power Moonblast off of Florges' respectable 112 base special attack. The point here is to keep my opponent guessing. Now, I'm left with 18 points, and I had a plan for my last Pokemon that would cost 10, leaving me just 8 for my Mega Evolution. Thankfully, one of my favorite Megas was available for just 7, that being Mega Absol. With a solid 115 base speed and a huge 150 base attack, Mega Absol is the definition of a glass cannon. With solid coverage moves like Close Combat and Psycho Cut, Mega Absol can hit almost anything in the game for at least neutral damage. Alright, it's time. My last pick. I had this one planned for a while, since I wanted to complete my Fire, Water, Grass core with Whimsicott and Quaquaval. So, for 10 points, leaving me with 1 point spare, I picked the Fire Croc Pokemon, Skeledirge. Skeledirge has one big trick up its sleeve, that being its signature move, Torch Song, which is an 80 base power special fire move that is guaranteed to raise Skeledirge's special attack by 1 stage. If I can survive hits, I can just snowball Skeledirge's power using Torch Song and hopefully be able to sweep opposing teams. At this point, the draft is over, but this isn't my final team. We had a 24-hour grace period in which we could freely add or drop Pokemon to our team however we want, as long as we stay within our 110-point limit and within the 9 to 11 Pokemon limit. I mentioned earlier how Whimsicott is not quite as good in singles as it is in doubles, and there was still one role my team was missing, the move Rapid Spin. Having a dedicated Pokemon that knows the move Rapid Spin is so valuable to be able to clear hazards on your own side without clearing hazards on the opponent's side like Defog. So I decided to drop the 8-point Whimsicott and replace it with the 7-point Tsarina. Tsarina is still a grass type like Whimsicott, so it fits into my Fire, Water, Grass core, but it can also learn Rapid Spin. Plus, it gets a strong ability in the form of Queenly Majesty, which blocks any priority moves from being used against it. This left me with 2 points, and I decided to spend those 2 points on the Candy Apple Pokemon Diplin to round out my team. Diplin is another Eviolite Pokemon, similar to Porygon 2, that will be able to switch in and just tank hits. At this point, I think I'm done, and my team is set. But remember how I said earlier that I got sniped on Galarian Slowking? Well, in a great turn of events, the team that drafted Galarian Slowking decided to drop it with 2 hours left in the grace period. Because of points, my best choice was to drop Quaquaval in order to pick up Galarian Slowking, since both are 15 points, and with my additions earlier in the grace period, I had no leftover points to work with. This does mean that I lose my Fire, Water, Grass core, but Galarian Slowking gets a lot of water coverage moves to be able to help fill that in. At the same time, I decided to shift my Terra Captain from Florges to Porygon 2. The better overall bulk versus being a dedicated special wall, I felt, made it a more versatile counter to my varied opponents' teams. So, here is the final team for the Bouffalant Bills. Iron Valiant, Salamence, Terra Captain Crocodile, Skarmory, Tsarina, Terra Captain Porygon 2, Galarian Slowking, Florges, Mega Absol, Skeledirge, and Dipplin. The numbers that you see on the right here are the speed stats for each of these Pokemon. This is really important to keep track of because the speed stats of my team versus my opponent's team will determine how I build for each week. If there is a specific Pokemon on my opponent's team that has, say, 110 base speed, I am going to build my Absol or my Iron Valiant to be max speed, specifically to outspeed that Pokemon. However, if it's not really a big threat to either of those particular Pokemon, I may make them more focused on their primary attacking stat so that I can deal as much damage as possible while still outspeeding the ones that I really need to outspeed. I am going to be recording all of my battles along with in-depth team builders for that week and hopefully be posting them regularly on Mondays. At least that's the plan right now. I hope that you all enjoy going on this journey along with me. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Check if you're subscribed so that you can know when these videos come out. Also, please go subscribe to Shepsky Dad. He is an incredible Pokemon content creator, and his community is the reason that I even have the opportunity to do this. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.